A few months ago, Sentry rolled out our MCP server, and we've seen usage on it skyrocket ever since then. But building it definitely had its struggles along the way, and every time we would roll out a new upgrade, add a new feature, or the MCP spec would change in some weird way, we'd have to debug problems inside of it. So we started building monitoring that would help us debug those problems so we could ship it to you all faster. But what we found over time is that the same problems we were running into inside of MCP servers were what everyone was running into, and so we decided we were going to roll out MCP Observability. And so starting today, it's available for you to jump in and check out. If you're using a JavaScript-based MCP server, it's really easy to get started. I'm going to show you how you can jump in. Let's check it out. So here we are inside of the MCP dashboard. You can get to this by going into Insights, choosing AI, and just hitting that MCP tab. But before we jump in here, let's jump into some code. I'm going to go into my IDE, and if you built an MCP server before, you're familiar with this little block. This is that new MCP server call, and this is where we start to instantiate out that MCP server object that we're going to interact with throughout our app. Now, I've already instrumented Sentry inside of my MCP server for the other parts of Sentry, but I want the better visibility into what's happening inside of MCP specifically, and we've built some custom stuff to make that better. And so I'm going to bring in this new primitive that we've set up, this Sentry wrap MCP server with Sentry, and this is going to open up all of those additional views. So with that in place, I can jump back into the dashboard, and if you set that up, you'll start getting all of these views populated. So I can see things like traffic patterns. I can see traffic by client, which is super useful when you're debugging because different clients oftentimes support different MCP configurations. You can correlate that with things like the transport distribution. Some only support SSE still, others have moved to HTTP streamable. So you get a really good view into how that works inside of your environment. I get a ton of use out of diving into the tool calls because I can start to understand the trends of what people are trying to do inside of my application, where the slowdowns are happening, and where they're failing the most often. This gets really useful when you dive into the tracing view, and this is where Sentry's power really starts to shine. So let's go in and let's jump into like create project here. Now, these are all the span samples for that time frame that I've selected, and I'm going to jump into one of these, and we're dropped right into the trace waterfall. And so now we can start to see the connected story across our entire application. My MCP server runs standalone, but it interacts with an API server also. And so I can see that tool call here where it goes to create the project and how it communicates back with my API server all the way down to the database that it's actually interacting with. And I can see performance at every stage of this. So I can start debugging where the slowdowns are happening the most. I can see the input and output that are coming in from that tool call. So again, it's all about giving you better visibility into all stages of communication just to make debugging what's happening inside of that MCP server much easier. We're really excited to roll out MCP Observability to everybody and have you jump in and check it out. Today, we support JavaScript frameworks, but we're going to expand that out to different languages and additional frameworks over time. We'd love for you to jump in and let us know how we can make it better and what you want to see. Talk to you soon.